Hey guys, I'd first like to thank all the parents for taking time out of their day and working with their student on all this work over the extended break. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Miss Burke. I'm Miss Farber's student teacher for the rest of the semester until May. Alright, so today we are going to work on algebra. This is our second lesson in algebra, so the students are a little bit familiar with this, but let's go ahead and get started. So everybody should have a packet that says algebra on it with the student's name. Go ahead and pull everything out in that packet. You should have a stack of papers, just like this, a calculator, a pencil, and this bingo marker. Gary and Ashlyn also have some Ziploc bags with cut out pieces of paper in it for each of the tasks. So you don't have to write anything, you can just glue all the words down. And then you should have a glue stick with it also, so you can go ahead and do that too. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So first we're gonna go over this vocabulary sheet for the unit. So go ahead and pull this out. It should have all these words on it. All right, so the first word here is data. Data is all of the information that goes onto our graph right here. So here they're pointing at all of the dots on here is our data, right? Our dot plot is a graph that has all of our data on it like this. So if you look at 0 has no dots, 1 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots, 2 has 1, 2 dots, and you can keep going. All right, so this is all of our data is on our dot plot like this. Our next word is histogram. Histogram is similar to a dot plot, but it just graphs it in a different way. So this is a different type of graph. So here it has 1 through 5, right at the bottom here. It goes up to 4. So it's any numbers with 1 through 5, and there's 4 of them, okay? On both of our graphs here, we have 2 different types of axes. Okay, so here is the x-axis goes across, and our y-axis goes up and down. Okay, same with horizontal. Horizontal goes left to right, just like our x-axis, and vertical goes up and down, like our y-axis here goes up and down. Okay. Our next word is data set. Data set is all the numbers that go into our graphs, like that. So this data set you could put on a graph, and that will then be your data on one of the graphs. Okay? Next is a bar graph. Okay, a bar graph is really similar to histogram, but instead they have words at the bottom here. So the second one says orange. There are 30 people who like the color orange here. So you just draw a bar up to 30, okay? And our last word is circle graph. Our circle graph, you can be used from any of these graphs, but you just put it into a percent, and you can put it into a circle graph. Okay, we worked on this a little bit in the first lesson. Okay, all right, I'll put this right up here. All right, so the first page you should have is page 9. It should look like this. It should say task analysis. Page 9 is right here in the corner. Okay, go ahead and pull that out. It should be the first one after that. Okay, so here as we go through the steps, we're just going to check off each step. Okay, I'm also going to put that right up here. So just have that out right to the side, and we're going to check them off as we go. Okay, next you should have page 10. It says math story right at the top. So go ahead and pull that out. And I want everybody to read aloud to their parent the whole whole math story. So go ahead. I'm going to give you some time to go ahead and read it out loud. I'll wait for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read it aloud to you guys now, all right? So you can go ahead and point along to the words as I read, okay? Tamika has a new cell phone. Her parents signed up for a phone plan that gives her unlimited minutes to talk on the phone, but only 10 texts per week. Tamika asked her parents to please change the plan to limit the time she can talk on the phone and give her unlimited texts instead. Her parents said no. They were afraid she would talk on the phone much more than she thinks, and they would be charged extra money. Tamika decides to use data to try to change her parents' mind. Tamika asks 9 of her friends how much they talk on phones each week. Then she asks them to count the number of texts they sent last week so she can use the statistics to show her parents how many texts per week most teens send. Here is what they answered. And so in the data set, it shows only 1 friend talked on her phone at all. And it was just to call home for a ride. All 9 friends sent texts the previous week. Okay, so we have 37, 41, 32, 41, 40, 40, 35, 40, and 36. Okay, so we did step 1. So go ahead and check it off on your task analysis sheet. Okay, good. Now, step 2, we need to identify the problem. So go ahead and look through the story, and you're going to try and find what the problem is, what they're trying to figure out. Okay? So go ahead and do that. I'll give you a hint. It's in the second paragraph. Problem is in the second paragraph. Okay. So here, I'm going to circle it. You can go ahead and circle it too. It's going to be how many texts per week, right here. How many texts per week, right, circled. Okay, so go ahead and circle and underline that too. And then we're going to write the same words right here, right where it says identify the problem. So go ahead and write those. I'll write it on the board for you so you can see it a little bit bigger. So we're going to write how many texts per week. So Gary and Ashlyn, you should have the sheets. It should say page 10 on it, math story. So go ahead and take that one out. And it should have a sheet that says how many texts per week. Okay? So go ahead and glue that right on there too. Okay? So we're going to write how many texts per week. Okay, so go ahead and write that in that same spot. I'll write it too. How many texts per week? Okay, I'll give you a little time to write that down. Okay, good. So your paper should look just like mine. I should have it circled or underlined right here, and then say how many texts per week right here, right under the problem. Okay? So that was our step 2. So guess what we're going to do next? On our check-off sheet, we're going to check off step 2. All right. So we got our step 1 and 2 checked off. Okay. Now we're going to go to page 11, so you can put that one, page 10 to the side. And your page 11 should have a big dot plot right here. Okay. So first we have step 3. We have to title the axis on the graph. Okay. So if you're looking at the problem we just wrote, it's asked how many texts per week. So what do you think the title under the axis is going to be? If we're trying to find out how many texts per week we have, we're going to have texts per week on the bottom of the graph. Okay? So on this paper, you're going to write it right here. I'm going to write it on this one on the wall so it's a little bigger. Okay? So we're going to write texts per week. Okay? Texts per week. So go ahead and write that there, right at the bottom. There should be a line right at the bottom for you to write on. Okay? And then same with Gary and Ashlyn, you'll have the word in the bag that says page 11, dot plot, and it'll have the word that says text per week on there. So go ahead and glue that on there, Gary and Ashlyn. Okay? Okay. So same with those baggies, you're going to have all the numbers we need to put on this dot plot, okay? So as we write the numbers down, you can just glue them down also. All right, Perrin and Alexis, you can just write them down because I know you guys can write real well, all right? And you can just copy what I have down here too, okay? So we have our step 3 done, right? So we're gonna check that one off too. Step 3. Because we titled the graph. We titled the axis on the graph, okay? So our step 4, still on page 11, is to set up the graph, okay? So to set up the graph, we need to know what numbers to put right here at the bottom, all right? So we're gonna look at the data set that we have, which is on page 10. We have our data set. So look at page 10, and we're going to have all of our numbers here, okay? I'll write them up here so it's a little bigger, all right? So we're looking at page 10. All right, as I'm writing them on here, go ahead and find the number that's the lowest number, the smallest one, okay? Go ahead and do that. Find the smallest number. Okay, I think that's a little bit bigger so you can see that a little bit more. All right, so did anyone find what the smallest number was? Let's look at them. All right, so I think 32 is our smallest number here. Okay, so since that's our smallest number, we're going to write that in our first box, 32. All right, so go ahead and glue or write that in your very first box, 32. Okay, then what comes after 32? We're going to write that in our next box. After 32, we have 33. Now we're going to keep counting up, okay? So we have 32, 33, 34. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. We're just going to keep counting all the way up to fill all of our squares, okay? So go ahead and write all those numbers in or glue all those numbers in. So we have 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and 41. Okay, I'll give you guys a little bit of time to write all those in or glue all those in, okay? Okay, if you guys need a little bit extra time, you can keep going as I finish talking about this. All right, so if we look on page 9 again with our check-off list, for step 4 it says we need to set up the graph and determine the spread. So I don't think we've talked about spread yet, but spread is when we find out what the lowest to the highest number is, okay? So our lowest number here is what? 32, and our highest number here is 41, okay? So our spread is 32 to 41, okay? So that answers that one. Our spread is 32 to 41, and then we need to add the numbers to the graph, which we did. We added all of our numbers here, okay? Good. All right, so we can check off step 4, we set up our graph. Okay. And now step 5, we need to graph the data here. Okay. So this is where we're going to use our markers right here, our bingo markers. So go ahead and unscrew those. Parents, you might have to help. Some of these aren't used yet. So you might have to turn upside down and squeeze it a little bit to have the ink go to the top. So this one is blue, so the cover should be blue right here. So whatever color yours is, you should see at the top, okay? So you're going to use that, and on your dot plot, we're going to mark what numbers we see here, okay? I won't use mine on this one because this is more of a whiteboard. But go ahead and do that as I draw my dots. You can use your dot marker, okay? All right, so we have our first number here is 37. So go ahead and find 37 on here. And we're gonna draw a circle, or you're gonna use your dot marker and make a big dot right above 37. Right in that square, okay? So we have 137. What's our next number here? We have 41. So go find 41. And we're going to put a dot right above that one. Our next number here is 32. So we're going to take our 32 and find 32 on here. And we're going to draw a big circle right above 32. All right. Next is 41 again. So you'll find 41. And we're going to put a dot right above 41. So now how many dots do we have above 41? We have 1, 2. All right, good. Our next one is 40. So find 40 on here. Right here, and we're going to draw another, we're going to put another dot right above 40. Okay, our next number is 40 again. So find our 40. And we're going to put another dot above there. Okay, we have 35 is our next one. Find 35 right here. We're going to put a dot right above 35. Okay. Our next one is 40. So find 40 again. So we'll look all the way down and find 40 and put another dot right there. Okay, and our last number is 36. So we're going to find 36 on here. There's 36 and put a dot right there. Okay. So I'll give you a little bit more time to finish that if you haven't already. But your graph should look just like mine, okay? Okay. So now we finished step 5 is to graph the data. So you can check off step 5. Okay. And now we have step 6. Step 6 is we have to calculate the mode and then add it to the data table. That's on a different paper. So we have to calculate the mode, which is the value with the most dots. So look at all of your numbers here and find the number that has the most dots. Okay, what do you think? So we have 32 that has 1, 35 has 1, 36 has 1, 37 has 1, 40 has, let's count, 1, 2, 3. 40 has, or 41 has 1, 2. So which one has the most? Which one's the tallest? That'll tell you too. Okay? So our 40 here has 1, 2, 3. That's going to be our mode because that one has the most. Okay? So 40 is our mode. So it says that put that on the data table. So we're going to go to page 13. Should look just like this. It's the last page. Page 13. This is our data table. Okay. All right. Gary and Ashlyn, you should have another paper that says page 13 data table, another Ziploc bag that says page 13 data table. And we're just going to take out the number that says 40 because we're going to put that on our mode. Okay? So Perrin and Alexis, you can go ahead and write 40 right here where it says mode. That'll be our first one, 40. Just like this, 40. Okay? Go ahead and do that. Okay, and that's all we're going to do on that paper for right now. So I'm going to put that one back under. And now we're going to go to page 12. We have to find the mean. Page 12, right here. Okay? Gary and Ashlyn, you should have another Ziploc bag that says page 12 mean. And that has all the numbers in here. So we're going to use all of them so you can dump them all out. And Perrin and Alexis, you can write your numbers in here. Okay? So in all of these boxes here, we're going to write all of our numbers in our data set, okay? So we're going to start with 37. We're going to write 37 in our first box like this. 37, okay? And our next number is 41. That goes in our second box, 41. And we finish writing the rest of the numbers. So we have 37, 41, 32, 41, 40, 40, 35, 40, and 36. Okay? So yours should just look just like this. There is an extra box right here. We're not going to use that one, so I'm going to cross that one right out. Because we only have 9 numbers. So there's one extra, okay? Let's go ahead and write that down. We have 37, 41, 32, 41, 40, 40, 35, 40, and 36. Okay. Now in this bottom box, we have to figure out what our total amount of numbers we have. So we're going to count our numbers here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay? So we're going to write 9 in this bottom box. So go ahead and write 9. Okay? Okay? So go ahead and write 9 in that bottom box right there. Should look just like that. Okay? So now we're going to need our calculator. So go ahead and pull your calculator out. Everybody should have a calculator. And now we're going to add all of these together first. So we're going to do 37 plus 41. So do 37 plus 41 plus 32 plus 41 plus 40 plus 40 plus 35 plus 40 plus 36. Okay? So I'll give you a minute. Go ahead and do that. Put all your numbers in there. 37 plus 41 plus 32 plus 41 plus 40 plus 40 plus 35 plus 40 plus 36. And then once you have all those in, you can hit equals. Okay? So I'm going to write on the side, it equals 342. You don't have to write this down. I just want to write it down so you guys can see it. 342. Okay? So now we're going to take that number, 342, and divide it by, this is the dividing sign, divide by 9. So click this sign in your calculator. We'll have the 342 divided by 9. What does that equal? Did everybody get 38? We should have it equals 38. Okay? So go ahead and write 38 right here. Okay? Good. So we finished step 7. Oh, I think I forgot a step. Okay, so we did step 6, right? Calculate the mode, and then add the mode to the data table. So we did that, step 6. And step 7 was to calculate the mean and add that to the data table. So first we got to add that one to the data table. So on page 13 again, page 13, we're going to add the mean right here, okay? So you can put our mean down, which was 38, okay? So Ashlyn and Gary, it should be in your packet that says page 13, in your Ziploc bag that says page 13. Pull out the 38, we're going to put that in there, okay? So we should have the 38 right there, where that's our mean. Another word for mean is average. That means the same thing as mean. So we had added all of them up, and then divide it by the number we have, how many numbers we have. So we had 9 numbers, we divided it by 9. Okay? All right. So now we finished step 7. Calculate the mean and add the mean to the data table. So you can check that one off. Now we have our step 8, which is to analyze the data and state the solution to the math story problem. Okay, so on page 13, we're going to read the next question right here. Okay, it says, based on the evidence Tamika collected, is the number of texts per week her friends send more or less than the number of texts Tamika is allowed to send each week? Okay? So here you can write more or less, whatever one you think it is, more or less. Okay? Let's talk about it. So how many texts did Tamika send? Do you remember? How many does she send each week? You find it in the story? I think I found it. So she can only send 10 texts per week. Right here. 10 texts per week. And it's asking is the number of texts her friends send each week, which we're going to look at the average here, the mean, is the number of texts her friends send each week more or less than the number of texts Tamika sends each week. So is 38 bigger or smaller than 10? Is 38 bigger or smaller than 10? .38 is bigger. So they send more texts than Tamika is allowed to send. So we're going to write more. So we should have more right here. Okay? Okay, and now we have one last question. Do you think the statistics Tamika gathered will change her parents' minds about switching to a different phone plan? So this one, you guys can answer however you want. Do you think all the things she gathered, the number of people she asked, let's see, she asked 9 of her friends that text. Do you think knowing how much they text each week will convince Tamika's parents to let her text more? What do you think? So here we can write yes or no, whatever one you think it is. So it's either yes or no. We're going to write one of those responses. Okay. Thank you guys so much for helping out. Okay, so we finished with all these papers. Oh, we didn't check off our last step. Step 8 was to analyze the data. And we did. And we stated what the solution was to our math story problem. Okay, so now we finished. So go ahead and put all these papers back in order. You should start with page 9 and go all the way to page 13, okay? We're going to put them back in order. All right, okay. And we're done, okay? Thank you, parents, for working so hard with your student to help them get through this lesson. I know it's hard being away from school, just having them do this all online and doing all their papers and their packets. But thank you so much. And if you guys could send Miss Farber a response back saying how you think this lesson went, if there's anything we could do to help improve it in the future, because we might do a couple more of these, and just any thoughts you have about what could help or what could be improved. All right. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your break.